This episode we are installing our Tru Design Seacocks to replace the old ones. So we've got all of our Tru Design collars in as well as instructions. So this is what they look like when they're all fitted together, but essentially you've got part for the pipe, you've got the actual through hull fitting itself, and this is a special load bearing collar which you don't have to buy necessarily, but it improves the stability of it and makes it much less likely that even, I think it's up to like 750 pounds from memory, 500 pounds of weight can land on this and actually be static weight where it sits on it for some time and it won't break, whereas obviously just this fitted on is a little more flimsy. And then you've actually got the through hull itself. So what we're likely going to do today is fit all the through hulls. We're fitting those with 3M 5200 black, because the hull's going to be painted black and these are black. So these will all be fitted with the permanent seal. We're probably going to have to trim this because Chuffed's hull is only basically 6mm, so we're going to have quite a lot of thread left over, whereas a lot of hulls are quite a bit thicker, the fiberglass hulls, so we'll have to measure all that. And then once that's dried, we also have 4200 sealant to put the these fittings all together. We're using the 5200 on the hull so that this becomes an integral part because it's a non-removable sealant, it's permanent, and then the 4200 for all the rest of the fittings so that we can change them if we ever need to. So that's the plan. We'll go from there. So once this is connected to the hull, you can have a distance of thread between 20mm and 32mm. You try and get it as close to 32 as possible because the longer the better in terms of the most stability through the hull. But as I said, I'm fairly certain Chuffed's very skinny little strong hull means we're going to have to actually cut these to fit them on, so it might be a slightly bigger job, but that's okay. Jim had the joyous task of cutting all 11 through hulls to the correct size, which involved a lot of measuring and remeasuring. While he was doing that, Will was rounding out the edges of the holes in the hull to ensure the 5200 could form a nice seal, and Lena was cleaning the aluminium around the holes. Alright, so now that we've got the through hulls cut to size, we need to do a dry fit. So we'll be poking these through the holes, screwing this down, and essentially what we're trying to determine is whether it's a nice snug fit to make sure we've cut them to the right length, but also we need to turn it so that this valve, the opening and closing handle, is in the right position, that it's not going to get stuck on any of the cabinetry or wires or pipes, so that we can open and close it properly. And then from the outside of the hull we can mark the top of the through hull, so essentially that when they're installed and we put them in with the 5200 so they're a permanent part of the hull, this should screw into place where we want it, theoretically. So that's what we're going to do. So Jim is marking the through hull in a way that when we go to fit it for the final time with the 5200, our little ball valve will actually be sitting perfectly where we want the handle. So this is going to be number 2. So he's going to put a 2 on it. And then he's going to mark where our little lines are so that we know. I would maybe even just mark both sides, babe, in that way. Yeah. And then number 2. Cool. And then we know the 2 lines up with the 2 and we're all good. Thank you. Babe, would you believe we got it first go? What? Would you believe we got it first go? It's perfect. It is. Can I mark it or do you have to adjust it all? No adjustment needed. It's perfect. Cool. Easily accessible. That's a boat first, I think. We dry fitted and marked every single through hull to ensure that when we did the permanent installation, everything would end up where we wanted it. So right now I'm just using a methylated spirits to clean before I sand, to remove any grease from the aluminium so we don't sand the grease into any cracks or anything. Muy bien. Okay. Getting there. And we're basically sanding the area around the through holes to make sure that the 5200 has somewhere to like stick to, because it needs a bit of a rough surface, and also to make sure the aluminium's nice and clean where the through holes are going to be sitting and going down. And I reckon it's about, I don't know, in American talk, it's like 35 degrees and 90% humidity, I reckon, in here. 100 degrees maybe. So, Jim is currently sanding, for example. And so we're essentially giving it one final sand, just to get the aluminium oxide layer off that forms within, I don't know, a few minutes basically. Some people say seconds, some people say minutes. And then we'll be giving it a quick wipe clean. I'll be applying the Etch Primer, which is a 2-part product. And then tomorrow we can then stick the through holes in. We wanted to allow at least 8 hours of dry time for the Etch Primer, but also had to keep in mind that you can't wait longer than 48 hours to coat it. This essentially meant that the through holes had to go on the next day, rain, hail or shine. Luckily, we got shine. So today's through hole task is attaching the through holes to the hull, and basically we're making them kind of an integral part of the hull by putting the 5200, which is a permanent sealing and bonding system, around here. Jim will then hold them in from the outside, lined up with the marks we made previously, so that we know when we put everything together, hopefully everything's in the right spot. And then I'll go inside and pop a very tiny amount of the sealant from the inside in before screwing this down. And basically with this one, for now, we're only going hand tight, and then in probably 48 hours time, because this is a slower cure 5200, we'll put one extra turn on this washer, and then we can in like 5 to 7 days time fit the ball valve fittings once the 5200 is cured. It'll cure a bit more quickly in this weather because it's very hot here. Applied our 5200. Okay, swap here. Release in.
It's come out to the side. Yeah, cool. Almost all the way off to the sides. See, it's not really popping out there. That's enough.
Yeah, that looks good. You hold that, I'll jump inside. You ready on 7? I mean 5? 5, right? Yeah, you ready? Yeah. That is the last one done. Oh, it feels good to have that job done. It's like been weeks in the making, it feels like, but whew. I think we need a little water break now.
Standing rigging.
We're about to do the final step of the through holes, the Tru Design through holes. which is attach them to the skin fittings that we put in a few days ago with the 5200. So I'm using 4200 sealant on these ones so that it's not a permanent bond, just in case we ever need to adjust them. Yeah, be putting these on and then attaching their little the little pipe bits, and making sure that I definitely attach them to the right ones so that they all match up as we've measured them out to these. A little sealant to the bottom of this. This is the load-bearing collar, which helps provide a basically greater strength to the thru hull. We put a little bit of seal in here, just helps keep it in place on the hull, but also provides like a little bit of cushioning between the hull and the collar. So put a little there.
Yeah, this switch is also meant to be like mounted recessed. That's why I've got this.
And then we apply some sealant around this the thread fitting in here, which is what we'll screw down on top of. It's awkward. So I might need a box. Like that. Alright, not too messy.
Yeah, what?
Not too messy. Now we pop this down there. Make sure that I've definitely got it the right way. Yep.
There's a lot of holes.
Can we hold that torch? Yeah, if you can.
Like this much, really.
And by putting the sealant on the thread, when we're screwing this in, it'll push the sealant down, which means it won't get into the ball valve.
Won't get into the what?
Into this ball valve where you have to open and close the thru hull.
Oh, okay.
That's roughly where we're going to want it. Okay. Now I'm going to install this next one immediately because it is so close to it that we have to make sure that basically the both handles don't rub together once they're installed. So before anything seals completely, I need to do that, and then that way we can adjust them a little bit if we need to. It's a little bit more awkward. There we go. So, in theory, they can both be fully closed there. And the handles don't interfere with each other. And we have no movement in the fitting. That one can probably go just a touch tighter like that. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Right, then we put these in. You're making a mess, Dad.
Mm-hmm.
Just give this a little clean first. Just to make sure it's... Alright. And then with this one, we basically do the same. We're leaving just a little gap to make sure that none of this gets squished down into the ball valve again. And we just apply.
Voila.
Basically that goes on.
Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I mean, in my ideal like perfectionist world, I would love it if they like all lined up like on the exact same angle all the time. So then they, but it's better to have them tight, and I can open and close both of them completely, which is what needs to be able to happen. So that one can be opened and closed. Yeah. Like in my ideal world, I'd love it if they were both like, you know, in line,
yeah.
but it really doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
It's just purely cosmetics. So, yeah.
So what's
Good.
that open?
That's open, yeah. And then that's shut. Yeah. That.
So they should be shut all the time, shouldn't they?
You shut them. You shut them when you're not on the boat, basically. But when you're using the sinks and stuff, they have to be open.
Ah.
Oh, this pipe's going to them.
Yeah. So this
Okay.
one drains the sinks, and this one's the intake
Okay.
of salt water. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. The rear. Putting the through holes.
That's the final one fitted. Yay! It's only a 3-week process to get through all fit. I hope you enjoyed watching the full installation start to finish of the Tru Design through holes. We're really happy with our choice of composite fitting, given that Chuffed is aluminium and so bronze through holes are a huge no-no. Tru Design has a great website with instructions and information on the open ocean approved through hole fittings. You can watch the full story of why it took us so long to install these on our previous episode. Thanks to all of you who've stuck with us throughout this haul out and helped make our work possible. We've already helped over 70 animals here in Puerto Madero and could not have achieved this without each and every one of you. You can help us save animals by becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month. Until next time, stay chuffed everybody!